During the pandemic, we were all told that we had to lose all our civil liberties, be locked away in our houses, be forced not to work to protect the NHS. And as far as I can remember, as far as I was aware, that the idea of the NHS was to protect the vulnerable, to protect sick people. It wasn't for the whole of society to protect this pseudo religion called the National Health Service. And like any religions that aren't questioned and aren't examined and aren't drilled down into, like any religions that have a completely free reign and have a monopoly on what is right and what is wrong, things can go very, very badly wrong. And I believe that's what's happened with the NHS. I think the problem, and of course we're seeing this all over Western Europe, but the problem, particularly in the UK right now, has very, very little to do with any viruses that are afflicting people. In Northern Ireland, let me give you an example. In Northern Ireland, there are 29 COVID patients in intensive care. 29. Northern Ireland is about to enforce vaccine passports on everybody. You can't go into a pub, you can't go into a restaurant and loads of other businesses without a vaccine passport or a negative lateral flow test. You ain't getting in if you don't have that. With 29 people in ICU, what would happen? What would happen if a pandemic struck that was like the bubonic plague was in the Middle Ages, or like typhoid was, or like cholera was in the last century in the UK, or like the Ebola virus was, or like MERS? Some of these diseases had a 60% mortality rate, I believe. What would happen if something like that struck the UK? Because we were always told that we lived in a civilized society where we could rely on the NHS. If we got sick, if you have a car crash, you'll get an ambulance. The ambulance will be there in no time. The air ambulance might come and you'll be in hospital and you'll be getting glued back together, pins put in where they need to be, scanned, patched up and sent home. That's what we were led to believe the NHS was about, and that's what we were led to believe the NHS, or how the NHS worked. But apparently not. Because 29 people in ICU, not in one hospital, right the way throughout Northern Ireland. Northern Ireland has a population of 1.5 million people. There's 29 people in ICU in Northern Ireland. And yet we have the health minister, the top medics, the chief medical officer screaming that we've got to cancel Christmas. We've got to socially distance. We've got to wear masks. We must get all the other medical procedures that go with it. And the mantra goes on and on and on and on. Why? To protect the NHS. I want to ask a few questions about the NHS. Why is the NHS functioning so badly? Basically, what happens with the NHS is it's like a big skip. It's not even like a money box. It's like a big skip. And what happens is every single year, billions of pounds of our tax revenue are taken, literally delivered by a dumper truck and poured into this skip. And underneath the skip, there's just a big hole. And the money just goes down and down and down. And none of us know exactly where that money's been spent or what it's been spent on. And, we hear about how terribly the GPs have suffered during the pandemic. And I had a GP at my local surgery for many years. He was a fantastic doctor. Absolutely no doubt about it. A fantastic doctor. Now, I don't know what age he was when he retired, but I'm not a bad judge of age. And I'd say if he was over 55, I'd be amazed. I'd say that man retired in his early 50s. And he's now living the life of Riley. He's playing golf. He's swanning about his local town. Not a care in the world. And there's nothing wrong with that. He paid into a pension, no doubt. He got a fantastic salary and he retired early. But here's the thing. And this is to all GPs. Every single GP that goes, do you know what? I'm going to retire early. I'm just going to get out. 55 years old. I've got £250,000 salary every year or whatever it is I get paid. I've got a fantastic pension pot that incidentally has been paid largely by British taxpayers' money, if not all by British taxpayers' money. I've got a fantastic pension pot there, and I'm just going to kick back and take it easy. You see, I have a problem with that. And my problem is this. I always believed that doctors were called to be doctors. They had a calling on their life. Now, I'm not talking about anything particularly divine, but they had a passion for helping people and making people well. So what happens when you get to 55? Does that just stop? Because I would say most doctors at 55 could probably go on for another 10 years until they're 65, and a lot of them could probably go on until they're in their early 70s. And obviously get fantastically remunerated for doing so. Or they could become part-time doctors. But no. As far as I can see, these guys are just retiring. They're getting out of the health service. Now, maybe the health service is a really bad place to work. Maybe they're sick of people coming and coughing and spluttering all over them every single day and sharing their woes and telling people how depressed they are and so on and so forth. Maybe being a GP is a really tough life. We're told it is. We're told how overworked they are and how stressed they are. So maybe they can only do it till they're 55. But I don't think so. I think that's the sort of job that you can do and do and do until your mental faculties fail you. In fact, you should get better at it as time goes on, because obviously the further you go on a job like that, the more knowledge you have of the subject. So that's one issue. Why are GPs being allowed to retire early, getting paid a fantastic salary and then get a fantastic pension? And this isn't me being bitter. It really isn't. It's me saying, are we getting value for money from the NHS? And also, hospital administration. We're talking about legal fees. We're talking about managers. We're talking about personnel departments. We're talking about equality departments. All of those things. How much are the people working in those departments getting paid? And are we, as investors, because when we're paying our taxes, we're investing in these organisations. It really annoys the police. I mean, we used to do a lot of demos in London. We haven't done any for a long time, but we used to do a lot of demos. And if the police were getting a little bit excitable, let's say, I would always remind them as calmly as I possibly could, as they wielded their batons towards our heads, that we actually pay their wages. I've been a taxpayer since I was 16, 17. We paid their wages for a long, long time. And also when we were in Northern Ireland, we protected them. Totally digressing from the subject's the NHS. But you know what I'm saying, you know where I'm coming from. Public sector people are paid for by the private sector. That has to be how it works. If you're in the public sector, okay, you're paying tax, you're paying national insurance. If you're at a very high level in that, you're probably paying a lot of tax and a lot of national insurance. But at the end of the day, if there is no private sector, if there isn't a strong business base in the country, you don't get your wages paid. And the NHS need to realise that. During the pandemic, there was a lot of idolisation of the NHS. It was insane. People standing on their doorsteps, clapping, banging pan lids, and on and on and on it went every Wednesday or Thursday, whatever day it was. It was making it into a religion. Every religion needs to be critiqued. Every religion needs to be challenged. Every religion needs to be looked at and examined. And the religion of the NHS is no different. The NHS is certainly not God. It is certainly not omnipotent or omnipresent. And it is certainly not doing what it should be doing at the minute. And what it should be doing is treating every single person in this country who is eligible for NHS treatment, treating them at the point of their need. And for what I've seen in recent days and heard stories in recent days, the NHS is not fit for purpose, and we need to examine the NHS and find out what is going wrong in the NHS and fix it. And will any governments have the guts and the backbone to do that? I very much doubt it, but it's something that absolutely needs to be done. The NHS needs to be looked at, and it needs to be reformed, root and branch. I'm not talking about privatising. I don't want the NHS privatised. I'm quite happy to pay tax towards the NHS, but what I do want is the NHS to be run properly and efficiently, and I want the dead wood to be cut away, and you could start with some of those over unionized departments that seem to hold a huge amount of sway and power in that massive, wasteful organization. See you all soon.